This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Coming up on this week's programme, we hear all about an invasive new mosquito that's arrived in Cyprus. It's called the Asian tiger mosquito, and it is a voracious biter.
Originally, the Asian tiger mosquito, and it comes from its name, it comes from Asia, so it's a species that was living in the forests in Asia.
They prefer humans. They like the taste or the smell. We do not completely understand the chemical attractants that they sense. However, we know that when there's people around, they prefer to bite them specifically, but they can bite even lizards and birds and anything that they can find.
Now, I don't know about you, but this year in particular, I have been plagued by mosquito bites. I noticed something a little bit different recently about the mozzies that are attacking me. They're a different colour and they don't buzz. So I did a bit of research and discovered that we have for the last few years had in Cyprus what are known as Asian tiger mosquitoes. Well, they're very nasty, but we've got people who are at the Cyprus Institute who've been looking into this and can tell us all about them. They are joining us on this week's programme, Dr. Angeliki Martinou and Dr. Kamil Ergüler. So please, both of you, I want you to explain where these mozzies came from, because they're relatively recent arrivals, I believe, and then we'll get on to the nasty diseases they can carry. Angeliki, ladies first, can we start with you?
Great, thank you for the honour. Well, we think that these mosquitoes originated from somewhere in Europe. Actually, genetically, some of our colleagues have looked into this, and they think they originally came from areas where we trade with, like Greece or Albania or Italy. But originally, the Asian tiger mosquito, and it comes from its name, it comes from Asia. So it's a species that was living in the forests in Asia. And it's actually a tree-hole species. It likes living in the trees in a very nice green environment. But because humans decided to go and live very near the forests, then this mosquito adapted its lifestyle and it started exploiting the gardens of people and all the objects that you leave in the gardens, and started breeding in there. And somehow from Asia, it was moved to Europe with the tire industry. In the 70s, it moved from China to Albania first. And then from Albania, it spread in many, many countries. And in 2022, our team found it in Limassol for the first time.
So the fact that we were an island protected us for quite some time, but they are definitely here now. Can I ask what they feed on apart from people? I mean, if they were living in the forests before people lived nearby, what would their diet be? Kamil, can you help there?
I think they feed on anything they can find, but they prefer humans. They like the taste or the smell. We do not completely understand the chemical attractants that they sense. However, we know that they, when there's people around, they prefer to bite them specifically, but they can bite even lizards and birds and anything that they can find. So they like, at least in the urban environment or rural, in the European settings with a temperate climate, they're found with people as people provide them with breeding grounds.
Now, one thing I've noticed, I went out and bought some presumably useful mozzie repellent, which has worked in the past for the previous types of mosquitoes I'm aware of. Doesn't seem to have any effect whatsoever on these little things.
Yeah, usually repellents work with these mosquitoes, but I mean, they bite you. They have a very aggressive bite, so you can actually feel it. But I mean, repellents should work if they're applied properly. Of course, you have to apply them very often. And when you're sitting in the garden, you don't want to go every few minutes applying repellents. So maybe this is why you found that it didn't work. But I mean, they should work. It's one of the recommendations that we make.
The one big difference between normal house mosquitoes and these are that these are day biters. These are known to bite during daytime, and they're pretty aggressive compared to the normal Culex mosquitoes that we have. So maybe this is the reason that despite using the repellents, you feel that they may not be working as effectively as it would be for the against the normal mosquitoes that we have.
The other thing I've noticed is that they are silent but deadly sort of thing. I mean, they don't buzz like your average other mosquito that you think, oh, there's mozzies around, I can hear them. You only notice they're there when they actually bite you.
Yes, this is true. And they actually fly very low on your near your legs, so they mostly bite the lower part of your body. So it's good to cover yourself, like wear long trousers if you go out in your garden, which is a pain in Cyprus, of course, because we have like 30 degrees and it's almost November. But I mean, we have to adjust as well to the new invasive species that has arrived, unfortunately.
Now, they do carry some nasty diseases in other parts of the world. I presume that depends a bit on whether we have those diseases already on the island, does it? I mean, if they bite me and I haven't got dengue fever, they're not going to pass it on to anybody else. But tell me a little bit about the threat in terms of health issues.
Camille is the best person to answer this. He does a lot of modeling on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we try to develop mathematical models to predict the dynamics of the populations, the mosquito populations, and the risk due to them in time. One thing we noticed is that the most important thing to consider is what we call importation pressure, which is the monitoring of the disease infected individuals arriving to a country. We live in an island, as you said, Rosie, before, and the introductions of the pathogen, the dengue fever, the dengue virus, chikungunya virus, and others, can relatively easily be controlled. So this is one of the things we often notice, which affects the risk of transmission and which can be relatively easily monitored. So when we go somewhere for a holiday and come back and we do not feel well, we should check it out with a doctor, and the doctors should be aware that there's this potential of transmitting diseases that are normally found in more tropical areas, but now due to these mosquitoes that we have in Cyprus, we risk transmitting these locally as well.
So if somebody comes back from holiday, let's say in somewhere in the tropics in Asia, and they have been bitten and contracted one of these fevers, if they're bitten here, then we could set off a chain reaction. Is that what you're saying?
Potentially, yes, there is a possibility. It's not that high compared to the other European countries, because Cyprus, although is habitable to the mosquito, is too hot and dry even for the mosquito to establish itself to the same abundance as in Italy, for example. However, although dryness of the island is maybe an advantage, us humans providing breeding sites, providing water in containers for them poses a challenge. What I mean is that when we water our gardens, our flowers, and give water to our dogs, pets, etc., inadvertently we are providing breeding grounds to them in the warmest possible season of the year. And we have seen that this helps them to sustain their populations in harsh times of the Cyprus.
So it's stagnant water, basically. I really try to remember, because I leave water in a bowl with stones in it so that the bees can get some refreshment during the summer months. I have to remember to change that water with a very strong spray every day or so then. But what else can we do? Angeliki, are you on the front line of this fight? What should we be looking out for, and what little things can we do to try and make it harder for the mosquito to survive here?
Yes, I would say I think it is important that individually we take preventive measures and we take care of ourselves. We apply repellent. We take care of our gardens. We don't leave any objects that they can create, stagnant water. They can hold stagnant water and create breeding sites for them. I think it's also important that the authorities, they run the control programs and that the citizens let them know when they have a problem and when they think they encounter this mosquito. On the bright side, this mosquito by itself can only travel 500 meters to 1 kilometer. So if you encounter it in your house, even if you don't have a breeding site in your garden, the person next door might have one. But it's not coming from very far unless you brought it in with a car, of course. So if you work together with others in your neighborhood to try to identify these breeding sites and you try to communicate the problem that you have with the others and you put together like a collective effort, this mosquito brings together people. We had a group with Camille called Mosquitoes Without Borders because we were working with citizens all over Cyprus trying to identify this mosquito before it arrived, before 2022. And I think it's very important that the local communities work together to alleviate this problem.
Do we have regular spraying initiatives from the local municipalities and so on?
Yes, so every municipality and the Ministry of Health is taking care of the problem. We don't apply chemicals to mosquitoes in Europe anymore. It's not allowed unless you have a disease incident like a dengue case or a West Nile virus case. But we treat with a biological larvicide, which is very, very effective. It can cause the death of like 97% of the population of the mosquitoes. But you need to apply it in the breeding site. And unfortunately, the local authorities cannot enter in everybody's garden to do that. And this is why it's important that the citizens also take measures to protect themselves.
Well, can we get Angeliki, can we get hold of whatever it is you're talking about and explain how it works, this biopesticide? Can we get hold of it and put it in our own gardens?
So this is not something that it has been implemented in Cyprus yet, but actually in Italy, they had a program in many municipalities because the problem with the Asian tiger mosquito there was huge, where they had actually given to the citizens tablets of this BTI, this Bacillus thuringiensis. It's a natural bacterium that occurs in the natural environment, actually. And the people were putting the tablets in any of the stagnant water they would find in the garden. And this is something perhaps that, people need to think about how we can implement this in Cyprus. Of course, there are other things being trialed as well, because not only we have the Asian tiger, I think you must have heard of, so that we have the yellow fever mosquito in Cyprus as well.
That was in Larnaca a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yes. So this is still there as well. I think Camille knows a bit more about it because he works with this species. But I mean, there is also this SIT technique, the sterile insect technique. When
I
you
was going
use
to
sterile
ask you
maize.
about that. That was very successful, I think, in South America, wasn't it? Where they sterilized the mosquitoes and then let them out to supposedly breed, but they couldn't with all the others.
Yes, I think it is a successful technique. I think what we need to think of is that there is no one solution. There is many different things that you can do, like the BTI, the SIT, destroying the breeding sites in your garden, taking personal protective measures. I don't know if you want to add something about the SIT technique, Camille, and things about yellow fever.
Well, you've covered almost all of it, Kelly. That's great, thanks. What I want to add is the comparison, the ease and cost of these methods. I think the easiest to do and the less costly one is citizen cooperation, basically. So if we all take care of our gardens and also warn our neighbors of the risks of leaving their garden unattended, that goes quite a long way. We don't need, for the moment, costly and highly actually difficult measures to implement, but they're also within our reach, and we are collaborating in developing those technologies in case we need them. The best advice is that everyone takes care of their own house. And we do not need to replace the water of our pets every day, but maybe once or twice a week, depending on the time of the year. Because for the mosquitoes, it takes not a day for them to emerge from the egg stage. It takes some time, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, maybe a bit more, from the egg stage to the adult stage. And we need to, as control officers, target them the best in the larva stage, where they need water. And this BTI, the biocidal control agent that Angeliki mentioned, is also applied during the larva stage. So,
and is it safe for pets, Camille? This is the problem. If you put it in your dog's bowl and it drinks some, is it going to hurt the animal?
No, it doesn't hurt the animal actually, but they used to put it in the past in bowls of like cows and things like that. Now they don't do it anymore, but yeah, I mean for your pet, just change the water as often as you can, basically. I think in the summer it's more tricky because if you water your garden, the mosquito can develop within 1 week. This is what we find in Limassol because we've been monitoring the population here for quite a while now. And we now have it at the sovereign base areas where I'm also based at the Joint Services Health Unit. So, yeah, I think with your pet, just empty the water, but it's a very safe product. And actually, it only targets mosquitoes, as Camille said, in the larval stage. And if you put it in the right dosing, then it doesn't affect the biodiversity because, sometimes, you can have like a little pond in your garden and you can attract maybe dragonflies or maybe the bees will go and drink the water there, as you said. So it's not going to kill them. It only kills mosquitoes. It only kills diptera insects with 2 wings, and only mosquitoes at the right dose, nothing else, even from the flies.
That's good news. What about predators? I've got lots of bats at the right time of night in my garden. Are they feasting on these dreadful mozzies, or are they preferring other things?
I think, in general, like the predators like bats, they go for bigger insects. But, I mean, if there are no bigger insects around, then they will go for mosquitoes. And we hope they do, actually. This is one of the things we would like to investigate. Birds also eat mosquitoes. Reptiles eat mosquitoes.
Spiders.
Frogs eat mosquitoes. Yes, there are quite a few. Dragonflies eat mosquitoes as well. So there are quite a few predators around. The problem is, that usually species like mosquitoes and small insects, they have very fast life cycles, much faster than their predators. And this is why there are always, plenty of them. for the predators to feed on. Another problem is that, we live in cities. So in cities, we have much less biodiversity. And, the species that they like green areas and clean water, like dragonflies, for example, they would never probably go in a city unless you have a park, a nice park somewhere. So encouraging biodiversity and encouraging predators in the city, maybe by putting bat boxes or bird boxes, it's a positive thing, I think, to control mosquitoes and other pests.
Well, let's hope we start doing something about it. It does seem, though, as if they're here to stay. That's the bad news. Are we expecting more invasions from other species?
Well, I think, in Europe, there are quite a few invasive mosquitoes, other species that they have arrived as well, like Aedes japonicus. The main species, though, that it's very, very successful and a huge nuisance is the Asian tiger mosquito, because it's very well adapted to live with humans. I think it's much more successful in dispersing and being carried around by humans than even the yellow fever mosquito. And this is why in Cyprus now, I think we mostly have this. We see it colonizing new areas. But yes, unfortunately, we do expect other invasive species. And in my group, we work a lot with invasive species. And you need a very strong biosecurity measures at the borders, at the points of entry, as we call them, like ports, airports. You need to be able to control what comes in, monitor any products that they come in. For example, if you bring in tires or if you bring in plants.
Fruit as well, I imagine, Angeliki. I mean, we import quite a lot of fruit and vegetables. The problem is,
Yes.
Can you possibly screen each box? You can't, can you?
It's very hard, and I think the authorities do take measures and they do monitor, but, of course, you cannot check everything. But, yes, I mean, doing the best you can, I think it's the most important thing. And also what is important is once it arrives, that the citizens are aware of these, like, for example, the Asian tiger mosquito, so that they notify the people who are responsible, like the local authorities or the ministry, that look, we think we found this looks like that. So education is another very important thing. It's very important for us, the scientists, to communicate with the people, let them know what is invasive, let them know what could arrive, keep an eye so that they can keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite worrying that we noticed the difference in the bites and the type of mosquito purely by chance, actually. I noticed it a couple of weeks ago. And when I managed to actually swat one, I realised it was much smaller, much quicker and black. And so then I did some research, which is how I came up with you guys and the tiger mosquito. Don't think anybody's really tried to inform the public here, have they?
Oh, don't say that because you hurt us. we try quite a lot.
Well, you perhaps have in the scientific community, but what I'm saying is this needs to get out to the average person. Now, I found you through the Cyprus Institute, but shouldn't the schools be teaching this? Shouldn't women's groups and so on be going to the local authorities and saying, educate us? It is actually something that the municipalities could do through their community support, isn't it?
Yes, I think we are doing a bit of this, but I think you're right. We need to do a lot more, not just for the Asian tiger mosquito that it's now here, and we can teach people maybe how they prevent breeding sites, because you're also right. I mean, not many people know that actually mosquitoes breed in water even. I was speaking to people in Greece that they have these mosquitoes now for like more than 20 years. And some people didn't know that mosquitoes breed in water. So it is very important that we get in touch. We've done a bit of this. We have created also some material for children called the Three Musketeers, some leaflets that children can take away with them when they visit the Environment Center in Akrotiri, and we've given it to some other places as well. But
So do
and I think
do
the
local
ministry was.
schools have that, Angeliki? I mean, have you reached out to the Education Ministry? Are they interested?
So we haven't, but I think the Ministry of Health people have tried to put together a course for the school children. I'm not sure how far they have gone with this now, but I mean, Camille, do you have some information on that?
Yes, how do they handle this in the north, Camille?
I'm aware of a bicommunal project that has been running for the past 4 years concerning dealing with surveillance, scientific identification of where it spread in the north and south in collaboration between the two communities supported by United Nations. But apart from this, I'm not aware of any other initiatives who is keeping an eye on this. And I agree with you that I also think that we should do more in reaching out a wider fraction of the population.
Well, hopefully our chat will have done just that, and a lot of people will now be very much more aware of what they need to do, and perhaps, as I say, contact their local authorities or health services for spraying or for these pills or whatever else it takes to try and at least contain the problem, because I'm really tired of itching. But thank you both very much indeed for joining me. We've been talking to Dr. Angeliki Martinu and Dr. Camille Erguler, who have been studying the Asian tiger mosquito. Thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you, Rosie. And if I may add, the role of journalists is very, very important. I think the community of journalists is very good, and it's very good that you initiated this discussion. And we are here for you as well, for your community of journalists. And if you have any groups that you want us to be introduced to, please feel free, because we need to spread the word and let people know about the problem.
Perfect. Thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
The biggest achievement of Crime Stoppers has been the ability of the public to be able to give information about crime anonymously.
There's no way I could have kept prostituting without the drugs. There's no way I could have had my body used like a public toilet, because that's actually what prostitution is.
And then the fourth series I started 3 days after I'd won the Oscar, so the whole of the Monarch of the Glen experience was all interplatted with the Gosford Park Oscar experience.
I was working with Ronnie James Dio, and David was going to reform Whitesnake in 2003.
Cyprus was chosen because Cyprus is a stable, peaceful and secure place.
We have to really look closely. What are we doing with children? What are we doing with adolescents? And what are we doing with adults that can help them move into a more literate situation?
The ones that I'm proudest of are the ones that were true discoveries, where we found something we didn't know existed.
And in other news this week, the House Human Rights Committee on Monday discussed the issue of people with disabilities and service dogs. You very rarely see anyone with a service dog in Cyprus because there's no real legislation as to where they may and may not go, and a lot of shops and restaurants and other public spaces don't allow any dogs, regardless of whether or not they are assisting somebody with a disability. So it's great news that finally our MPs are going to address this issue, though how long it will take until we have legal support for people with assistance dogs remains to be seen. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.